Imagine a place so utterly cursed, so steeped in an ancient, malevolent darkness, that even the very trees seem to twist away from it, their branches gnarled like skeletal fingers reaching for a sky that refuses to offer light. A place where the silence isn't peaceful but heavy, suffocating, pregnant with unseen horrors. A place where the air itself feels cold, even on the hottest summer day, and the whispers of the wind carry not the rustle of leaves, but the faint, despairing cries of those who dared to call it home. This isn't a setting from a horror novel, nor a forgotten legend from a distant land. This place exists, hidden deep within the dense, unforgiving forests of Cornwall, Connecticut. Its name, whispered with a shiver by locals, is Dudleytown. And for centuries, it has earned a chilling reputation as America's real-life village of the damned. For generations, the stories have persisted, passed down from trembling lips to wide, fearful eyes. Tales of madness, suicide, inexplicable deaths, and disappearances. Of a land so profoundly cursed that merely stepping onto its soil invites an unseen, insidious evil into your life. But are these just campfire stories, exaggerated folklore spun to frighten children? Or is there something truly, terrifyingly real lurking beneath the moss-covered stones and decaying foundations of Dudleytown? To understand the horror, we must first journey back to the very beginning, to the year 1747, when a family named Dudley arrived from England, seeking a new life, new prosperity, and a fresh start in the burgeoning American colony. They were a prominent family, descended from English nobility, and like many of their time, they sought to carve out their destiny in the untamed wilderness. They chose a secluded, picturesque valley nestled amongst the rolling hills of Connecticut, a place that, at first glance, seemed idyllic. The sunlight dappled through the leaves, a gentle stream murmured through the valley, and the air was crisp with the scent of pine. They cleared the land, built their homes from sturdy timber, and established what they hoped would be a thriving community, a peaceful haven for generations to come. They named it Dudleytown, a proud testament to their lineage. But almost immediately, an unsettling pattern began to emerge. A creeping shadow that seemed to follow the Dudleys and anyone who dared to settle near them. It started subtly, with what could be dismissed as mere misfortune, isolated incidents that at first seemed like the harsh realities of pioneer life. Crops failed inexplicably, not just a bad harvest, but entire fields withering overnight, the stalks turning black as if scorched by an invisible fire, leaving families facing starvation. Livestock sickened and died without cause, healthy animals suddenly collapsing, their eyes wide with a terror that suggested something more than disease. Their bodies sometimes found strangely contorted. And strange minor accidents plagued the early settlers. Axes slipping, tools breaking, children falling from seemingly safe heights, leaving behind injuries that defied logic. One of the first Dudleys to arrive, 𝗢𝗿𝗄𝗍 Dudley, a man of robust health and sharp wit, was said to have lost his mind with terrifying speed. He would stare blankly into space for hours, muttering to himself, his once kind eyes filled with a frantic, unseeing fear. He spoke of unseen tormentors, of whispers that drove him to the brink of sanity. One cold autumn morning, he wandered into the dense, unforgiving woods surrounding Dudleytown, clad only in his nightshirt, and was never seen again. His disappearance was shrouded in mystery and despair, leaving his family to wonder if he had simply succumbed to madness, or if something had called him into the darkness, never to return. His brother, Barzillai, met an equally grim fate. He succumbed to a sudden, violent illness that struck him down in the prime of his life, leaving him writhing in agony, his body consumed by a fever that burned him from the inside out, his screams echoing through the quiet valley before his untimely death. Imagine the terror of a pioneer family, isolated in the wilderness, watching their loved ones succumb to unseen forces, their efforts to build a new life crumbling around them. What hope could they cling to when the very ground beneath their feet seemed to turn against them? The dreams of a new Eden quickly curdled into a nightmare. They had sought freedom, but found themselves trapped in a cage of escalating dread, a sense of foreboding that grew with each passing season. These were isolated incidents, perhaps, in a harsh new world, easily dismissed by those outside the valley. But then came the Revolutionary War, and with it, a new wave of tragedy for the Dudleys, as if the conflict itself was drawn to their cursed settlement. Gideon Dudley, a prominent figure in the community, a strong, patriotic man, was captured by the British and imprisoned in a notorious New York City jail, a place known for its brutal conditions. He was never seen again, his fate unknown, his name added to the growing tapestry of sorrow that seemed to cling to the family name. His brother, William, returned from the war, but not whole. He was afflicted by a mysterious illness, a creeping paralysis that slowly stole his ability to move, leaving him a prisoner in his own body, his once powerful limbs now useless. His mind, reportedly, was haunted by unseen terrors, by visions of shadowy figures that tormented him day and night. Can you imagine the frustration, the sheer helplessness of a man whose body betrays him, while his mind is tormented by visions that no one else can see? He would stare out of his window, his eyes wide with a fear that transcended physical pain, whispering about shadows that danced just beyond the firelight, about voices that called his name from the depths of the forest, promising him unspeakable torments. His family could only watch, helpless, as he slowly withered away, his spirit broken by an invisible enemy. The misfortunes continued, escalating from mere bad luck to something far more sinister, as if the curse was gaining strength, becoming bolder in its attacks. In the early 19th century, a farmer named Gershom Hollister, who had married into the Dudley family, was working his fields on a seemingly ordinary afternoon. The sky had been clear, not a cloud in sight, the sun warm on his back. Yet, without warning, a single searing bolt of lightning, seemingly from nowhere, struck him dead, leaving only a smoking crater where he stood. His wife, the former Mary Dudley, was left a widow, her grief compounded by the chilling suspicion that something unnatural was at play, that her husband had been singled out by an unseen force. A few years later, her son, also named Gershom, a vibrant young man, was found dead in a nearby well, his body floating lifelessly in the cold water. His death was ruled an accident, a tragic misstep, but the circumstances were deeply unsettling, adding to the growing sense of dread that permeated the valley. Was it truly an accident, or was the land itself reaching out, pulling him into its cold embrace, completing its grim collection? The villagers, already on edge, their nerves frayed by years of inexplicable tragedies, began to eye each other with suspicion, their prayers turning into desperate pleas for protection from an unseen enemy. Each new tragedy chipped away at their resolve, leaving them vulnerable and afraid, their faith in a benevolent world slowly eroding. The land itself seemed to conspire against them, mirroring the despair of its inhabitants. The soil, once fertile and promising, became barren, refusing to yield sustenance, turning their tireless labor into dust. The springs that fed their farms began to dry up, leaving their crops withered and their livestock thirsty, forcing them to trek miles for water. The isolation that once seemed peaceful now felt oppressive, a suffocating embrace that trapped them with their mounting sorrows, cutting them off from the outside world and any hope of escape. The whispers began, first quietly, then growing louder, carried on the wind through the dense woods, a curse. An ancient, malevolent force that had claimed Dudleytown as its own, slowly, inexorably, tightening its grip, squeezing the life out of everything it touched. It was as if the very trees watched them, their shadows stretching long and menacing, whispering secrets only the damned could hear. One of the most disturbing chapters in Dudleytown's history involves the family of Horace Greeley, the famed newspaper editor and politician. His brother, John Greeley, a man of science and reason, settled in Dudleytown with his wife, Sarah. Sarah Greeley, a woman known for her strong will and clear mind, a pillar of rationality and practicality, slowly began to unravel. It started subtly, with a growing unease, then a pervasive paranoia. She became obsessed with the idea that her home was infested with snakes, though no one else could see them. She would spend hours, days even, meticulously searching every corner of her house, tearing apart walls, pulling up floorboards, convinced the slithering creatures were everywhere. Their unseen coils tightening around her sanity, their phantom scales brushing against her skin. Her once beautiful home became a chaotic mess of splintered wood and scattered belongings, a monument to her escalating terror, a physical manifestation of her crumbling mind. Her sanity deteriorated rapidly, her once bright eyes filled with a terror that no one could comprehend, a fear so profound it seemed to emanate from her very soul, a raw, animalistic dread. The local doctor could offer no diagnosis, no cure, for a madness that seemed to emanate from the very foundations of her home, a madness that defied all medical understanding, all logical explanation. Sarah Greeley eventually died, her mind consumed by an unseen horror, her last days spent in a state of shrieking paranoia, leaving behind a chilling legacy of inexplicable mental decay. Imagine the horror of her husband, John, a man of reason, watching the woman he loved descend into a private hell, unable to help her, unable to even see the demons that tormented her. He was forced to witness her vibrant spirit extinguish, replaced by a hollow shell of fear, a victim of something that lurked just beyond the grasp of human understanding, something that had stolen his wife's mind and then her life. The stories grew darker still, each new account more chilling than the last, building a mosaic of unspeakable dread. There were accounts of settlers simply vanishing without a trace, not just disappearing, but as if they'd simply stepped into thin air, plucked from existence by an invisible hand. A farmer would leave for his fields at dawn, his breakfast still warm on the table, his tools lying where they'd been dropped, and would never return, leaving behind only the unsettling quiet of his abandoned home. A child playing near the woods would suddenly be gone, their laughter abruptly cut short despite frantic searches by every man, woman, and child in the valley. One family, after enduring a series of devastating losses and strange occurrences, livestock found mutilated in ways no animal could inflict, their bodies drained of blood, strange arcane symbols appearing on their barn doors, carved into the wood as if by unseen hands, a constant oppressive feeling of being watched by unseen eyes that seemed to follow their every move, reportedly packed up everything they owned. Their haste, their terror, spoke volumes to those who witnessed it, their desperate flight a testament to the unspeakable horrors they had endured. What could drive a family to abandon their entire life's work, their home, under the cloak of darkness, never to return? The fear must have been unimaginable, a primal instinct for survival overriding all other considerations, a desperate scramble to escape a fate worse than death. They left behind not just their possessions, but a piece of their sanity, forever scarred by the malevolence of Dudleytown, their minds haunted by the things they had seen and felt. As the 19th century wore on, the once promising settlement began its slow, agonizing death, not with a bang, but with a whimper, a gradual succumbing to an unseen force. Homes were abandoned, their windows staring out like vacant eyes, their doors left ajar as if their inhabitants had fled in a hurry, leaving behind a chilling tableau of lives abruptly interrupted. Farms lay fallow, reclaimed by the encroaching forest, the fields that once sustained life now choked by thorny brambles and invasive weeds, their neat rows swallowed by the wild. The last few remaining families, their spirits broken, their hopes extinguished, their faces gaunt with fear and despair, packed their meager belongings and left, their footsteps echoing in the silence, leaving Dudleytown to the silence and the shadows. By the early 20th century, it was a ghost town, a collection of crumbling foundations and overgrown cellar holes, swallowed by the relentless embrace of nature, a monument to a failed dream and an enduring curse. The only sounds were the wind whistling through the skeletal trees and the rustle of unseen things in the undergrowth, a constant reminder of the darkness that had claimed this place. But the legends did not die with the town. In fact, they intensified, fueled by the eerie silence and the palpable sense of dread that clung to the abandoned valley. Dudleytown became a magnet for curiosity seekers, thrill seekers, and paranormal investigators, drawn by the macabre allure of its dark reputation, its forbidden nature. And many of them returned with their own chilling accounts, adding new layers to the already terrifying tapestry of its history. These weren't just isolated incidents. They were consistent, recurring themes that painted a picture of a place truly touched by something unnatural, something that defied logical explanation. One of the most frequently reported phenomena is the profound, unnatural silence that descends upon you the moment you step onto the land. It's not the peaceful quiet of a remote forest, the gentle hum of nature. It's an oppressive, suffocating stillness, a vacuum of sound that makes your ears ache. Birds stop singing mid-song, their chirps abruptly cut off. The rustle of leaves ceases, as if the wind itself holds its breath. Even the buzzing of insects seems to vanish, replaced by an oppressive stillness that presses in on your ears, making your own heartbeat sound like a thunderous drum in the sudden vacuum. The only sound in a world gone mute. Visitors describe feeling an intense sense of dread, a chilling sensation of being watched, even when no one else is around. A feeling of eyes boring into your back from the unseen depths of the woods. A cold, predatory gaze. Some report sudden, inexplicable drops in temperature, cold spots that linger like unseen presences, as if a spectral breath has just passed by, chilling you to the bone, raising goosebumps on your arm. The air itself seems to thicken, becoming heavy with an unspoken threat, a palpable weight that makes it difficult to breathe, as if the very atmosphere is trying to suffocate you. It's as if the very atmosphere itself is holding its breath, waiting, observing, and judging. Then, there are the whispers. Faint, disembodied voices carried on the wind, just beyond the edge of comprehension, like secrets murmured by invisible mouths. Some claim to hear their names called, a chilling, distorted echo from the past. A voice that sounds eerily familiar, yet utterly alien. Others hear mournful cries, or desperate pleas, sounds of suffering that seem to emanate from the very ground beneath their feet, from the ancient stones and decaying earth. These auditory hallucinations, if that's what they are often accompanied by a feeling of profound disorientation, a loss of balance, a sudden wave of nausea, as if the very ground beneath your feet is shifting, tilting you into an unseen abyss, pulling you off balance both physically and mentally. Imagine hearing your own name called from the depths of the forest, when you know you are utterly alone, miles from civilization, no other living soul within earshot. What would you do? Would you answer? Would you dare to follow the sound, to step deeper into the darkness that calls to you? Many have, and many have regretted it, their minds forever scarred by what they encountered, or what they thought they encountered. Perhaps the most terrifying accounts involve direct encounters with unseen entities, experiences that transcend mere auditory or sensory phenomena. Visitors have reported seeing shadowy figures darting between the trees, just at the periphery of their vision, their forms indistinct, like blurs of pure darkness, moving with unnatural speed and fluidity, too fast, too silent to be human. Others claim to have seen full-bodied apparitions, fleeting glimpses of figures in period clothing, their faces contorted in expressions of fear or despair, their eyes hollow and lifeless, filled with an ancient sorrow, before they vanish into thin air, leaving behind only a lingering chill and a sense of profound unease. As if they were never there at all, a trick of the light, or something far more. Some have even reported being physically touched, a cold hand on their shoulder that leaves a burning sensation, a searing mark that lingers long after the contact is gone, a tug on their clothes as if unseen fingers are trying to pull them deeper into the woods, into the suffocating embrace of the darkness, or a sudden, forceful push that sends them stumbling, their heart pounding in their chest, convinced they are not alone, that something is actively. These aren't just fleeting sensations. They are visceral, terrifying interactions that leave a lasting psychological scar, a deep-seated fear that can haunt a person for the rest of their lives. One particularly disturbing story comes from a group of college students who, years ago, decided to spend a night camping in Dudleytown. They were skeptics, armed with flashlights and bravado, convinced they would debunk the local myths, eager for a thrilling story to tell their friends, a rite of passage. As night fell, the usual jokes and laughter slowly died down, replaced by an uneasy silence that crept in from the surrounding darkness, pressing in on their small campfire, making the crackle of the flames seem unnaturally loud. They reported hearing strange scratching sounds coming from outside their tent, like something trying to get in, something with sharp claws digging into the fabric, slowly, methodically, testing the flimsy barrier. Then, a low, guttural growl that seemed to emanate from the very earth beneath them, vibrating through their sleeping bags, a sound that was less animal and more ancient, malevolent, filled with an unimaginable hunger, a sound that chilled them to their very core. One of the students, a young man known for his calm demeanor, his unwavering rationality, suddenly began screaming, a raw, primal sound of terror that tore through the night, pointing frantically at the tent flap, claiming he saw a pair of glowing red eyes staring back at him from the darkness, eyes filled with an unimaginable malice, an intelligence that chilled him to his core. The group fled in terror, scrambling through the underbrush in a blind panic, tripping over roots and rocks, their screams echoing through the silent woods, leaving all their gear behind, their possessions sacrificed to the unknown horror, and reportedly never spoke of the incident again, their faces forever etched with the memory of that night, their skepticism shattered, replaced by a profound, unshakable fear that they ran for miles, not stopping until they reached the safety of their car, and even then, they drove away without looking back. The image of those eyes burned into their minds, a terrifying reminder of what lurked in Dudleytown. Another chilling tale involves a local historian named Dr. Elias Thorne, a man of meticulous research and unwavering logic, who was researching the area, meticulously documenting the remaining foundations, taking photographs, and poring over old maps, hoping to uncover the mundane truth behind the sensational legends. He was a rational man, dismissive of the supernatural, believing only in what could be seen and proven, a man of facts and evidence, a true academic. But as his research progressed, as he spent more and more time immersed in the history of Dudleytown, sifting through its dark past, piecing together the fragmented lives of its former inhabitants, he began to experience disturbing nightmares, vivid, terrifying visions of the Dudley family's suffering, of their descent into madness, of the unspeakable things that happened in those forgotten homes. Vision. He started hearing strange noises in his own home, faint whispers that seemed to follow him from Dudleytown, growing louder in the dead of night, calling his name, mocking him, twisting his thoughts. He would wake in a cold sweat, convinced he wasn't alone, that something had hitched a ride back with him, an unseen passenger in his own home. Eventually, he became so unnerved, so convinced, that something had followed him back, something insidious and malevolent, that it was slowly consuming his own sanity, just as it had consumed Sarah Greeley's, that he abandoned his research entirely, burning his notes, destroying all evidence of his work, every photograph, every map, every meticulously compiled document. What did he see? What did he hear that broke his rational mind, that made him abandon a lifetime of scholarly pursuit? He never told anyone, and the secret went with him. a testament to the power of Dudleytown's dark influence, a chilling reminder that some truths are too terrible to be spoken aloud. The sheer volume and consistency of these accounts, spanning decades and coming from unrelated individuals, from different walks of life and different eras, make it difficult to simply dismiss them as mass hysteria or overactive imaginations. People from all walks of life, with varying degrees of belief in the supernatural, from hardened skeptics to fervent believers, have reported similar, terrifying experiences. From seasoned paranormal investigators with high-tech equipment designed to detect the slightest anomaly to casual hikers who stumbled upon the forbidden grounds by accident, the narrative remains eerily consistent. Dudleytown is a place of profound, inexplicable dread, a place where the rules of the natural world, a place where the rules of the natural and the dead. But what could be causing such widespread terror? What could explain the centuries of misfortune, the madness, the disappearances, and the chilling encounters that have plagued this secluded valley, turning a once promising settlement into a monument of fear? The theories are as varied as they are unsettling, each one attempting to grasp at an explanation for the inexplicable. Some theories attempt to offer rational explanations, seeking to demystify the horror, to bring it back into the realm of the understandable. One suggests that the isolation of Dudleytown, combined with the harsh realities of frontier life, the constant struggle for survival against unforgiving nature, the rampant disease that swept through communities, the brutal, isolating winters, led to widespread depression and mental illness, which then manifested in the strange behaviors and tragic deaths. The lack of medical knowledge and support in those early days could certainly exacerbate such conditions, turning common ailments into fatal ones, and everyday anxieties into crippling paranoia, leading to a self-fulfilling prophecy of despair. Another theory points to the possibility of lead poisoning from the old wells, which could cause neurological damage, hallucinations, and irrational behavior, subtly poisoning the minds of the inhabitants. Or perhaps geological anomalies that could cause strange magnetic fields or infrasound, low-frequency vibrations imperceptible to the human ear, but capable of inducing feelings of anxiety, dread, and even visual disturbances, creating a constant, low-level hum of unease. Perhaps the unique geological makeup of the valley creates a resonant frequency that subtly affects the human brain, predisposing visitors to fear and delusion, making them susceptible to suggestion. However, these explanations, while plausible for isolated incidents, often fall short when confronted with the sheer malevolence described in the accounts, the feeling of an active, intelligent, and deeply sinister presence that seems to respond to human intrusion, almost as if it enjoys the suffering it inflicts, feeding on the fear it generates. Can a geological anomaly truly cause glowing red eyes to appear in the darkness, or whisper a person's name with malicious intent? Can lead poisoning explain the consistent shared experiences of multiple, unrelated individuals across centuries? Could it be the land itself? Some believe that Dudleytown sits on a powerful negative energy vortex, a place where the veil between worlds is thin, allowing dark entities to cross over, a nexus point for unseen forces, a wound in the fabric of reality where the natural order is disrupted. This theory suggests that the land itself is inherently cursed, perhaps drawing in and amplifying negative emotions and events, creating a self-perpetuating cycle of despair, a dark echo chamber of human misery. Others point to the possibility of an ancient Native American curse, a retribution for the desecration of sacred ground, a warning from a forgotten past, a spiritual wound inflicted long before the Dudleys ever set foot on the land, though historical records offer little concrete evidence to support this specific claim. Yet, the idea of an ancient, forgotten wrong, simmering beneath the surface for centuries, waiting for the opportune moment to exact its vengeance, is a chilling thought. What if the very soil remembers the pain and suffering, the blood shed, the tears cried, and seeks to inflict it upon all who tread upon it, a vengeful spirit of the earth? But the most enduring and terrifying theory connects the misfortunes directly to the Dudley family themselves, a lineage steeped in historical scandal and alleged curses that predated their arrival in America. The Dudleys, in England, were said to have been involved in a plot to overthrow Queen Elizabeth I, a treasonous act that led to their downfall and the execution of some prominent family members. For their treason, they were stripped of their titles and lands, and a powerful curse was reportedly placed upon the family line, a curse that would follow them across the ocean, clinging to them like a shroud, and infecting any land they tried to settle, turning their dreams of prosperity into a living hell. Could Dudleytown be the ultimate manifestation of this ancient curse, a place where generations of suffering and despair have accumulated, creating a reservoir of malevolent energy, a magnet for all things dark and twisted, drawing evil to it like a moth to a flame, amplifying its power with each new tragedy? Is it possible that the very bloodline of the Dudleys carried a blight that tainted the soil they walked upon, condemning all who followed them, a curse that transcends time and space, a generational haunting that found its perfect home in this secluded valley? The authorities, perhaps weary of the constant stream of curious visitors, the occasional rescue mission for those who got lost or injured in the treacherous terrain, and the growing reputation of the place as a hub for paranormal activity that drew unwanted attention, eventually took drastic measures. Dudleytown is now privately owned, and the entire area is strictly off-limits to the public. No trespassing signs are posted everywhere, stark warnings against venturing into the forbidden woods, their red lettering a stark contrast to the verdant green of the forest, a silent scream against intrusion. Local law enforcement actively patrols the perimeter, issuing hefty fines and even arrests to those who dare to venture in, reinforcing the message, "Stay out." This official closure only adds to the mystique, fueling the legends, and making the forbidden nature of the place even more alluring to some, and more terrifying to others. Why such stringent measures for an abandoned town? A mere collection of ruins. What are they trying to keep in? Or perhaps, what are they desperately trying to keep out? Is it simply to protect the public from perceived dangers? Or are they trying to contain something far more sinister, something that even they cannot fully comprehend, a darkness that must remain undisturbed? The very act of forbidding entry speaks volumes, suggesting that the danger is not just imagined, but real and potent. But the physical barriers do little to contain the stories, the whispers, the chilling sense that something truly dark resides within those woods, a presence that defies explanation and refuses to be confined by fences or laws. The question remains, is Dudleytown merely a collection of tragic historical events, amplified by local folklore and a touch of human imagination, a place where the human mind, left to its own devices in isolation and fear, can conjure its own horrors, a psychological phenomenon? Or is it something far more profound, a place where the fabric of reality is thin, where an ancient, malevolent force truly holds sway, waiting for the next unsuspecting soul to cross its threshold, to become another victim in its long, horrifying history, another name added to its ledger of despair, another soul claimed by the darkness? The truth, perhaps, is buried beneath the decaying leaves and the crumbling stones of Dudleytown, a secret that continues to haunt the quiet corners of Connecticut, a darkness that refuses to be forgotten, a wound that refuses to heal, festering silently in the heart of the forest. And as the sun sets over those dark, silent woods, casting long, skeletal shadows that dance and writhe in the fading light, transforming familiar shapes into monstrous forms, one can only wonder, what horrors truly linger in America's real-life village of the dead. And will anyone, once touched by its shadow, ever truly escape its grasp? The echoes of despair, the unseen eyes that watch from the darkness, the whispers on the wind that promise madness. They are waiting, and they are always listening.